if you could kind of start over the entire like production journey as well, what would you kind of do differently? Because obviously you had to go through all of that nitty gritty to get to where you are now.
Right. I think I would say double down on.
Hey guys, welcome to the Industry Set podcast where we interview high caliber artists and discuss all things music marketing, branding, social media, networking, creating opportunities for yourself, productivity hacks and tricks, and as well as production as a whole. That being said, if you are a music producer, be sure to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel because you don't want to miss out on future episodes, and we cover a lot of those topics. So if you want to level up in those areas, be sure to not miss out on that. Today's guest is Cyclops. This guy's been absolutely killing it lately, not only with his productions, but also as his overall social media presence, and as well as just the content strategy that he consistently delivers on day by day. And so we discuss a lot about that, and as well as his outlook on how he tackles production as a whole, whether it's starting and finishing a track, and as well as what he does on a day-to-day basis. That being said, I'll see you in the podcast. How did you get into production originally? Like, what was the pivotal moment, and how long ago was that?
So prior to like electronic music, I got into I started playing guitar in like middle school. And pretty much right around when I started playing guitar, I also wanted to start recording music. So I started working in FL Studio, just like recording simple guitar songs, and that kind of evolved into like recording, rock and metal stuff throughout high school. And then when I got to college, my roommate was really into electronic music, and he got me into it. Um, and so it was around that time that this was around like 2015, 2016, that I got into like electronic music and like working in Ableton and stuff like that.
Right. And so like was there like a I guess pivotal like specific artist though that you heard that you were like, oh shit, like I need to make music like this guy?
Yeah, I was really into like Skrillex,
Oh,
Jack
of course.
U, and Getter. They were all really
Nine
big at the
times out of
time.
10 everyone says cliche like Skrillex. It's not, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
every artist I ever speak to, it's always like, yeah, Skrillex. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
You mean Sonny? Yeah, of course. So like after that point, how long before you were like taking it like super seriously though?
um, Maybe like 2019. So I started Cyclops in 2016.
Right.
And for the first couple of years, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Hmm.
I really liked working on electronic music and I spent a lot of time on it, but it didn't feel like I could really, that there was any momentum to like turn it into a career until maybe
Hmm.
2019. Um,
So when you were going through that stage as well, was there like one specific element of production that was kind of like the biggest hurdle, like that you felt like was your limiting belief?
Maybe just trying to get connected or just trying to break through and like, have people take notice of what I was doing. Because for the first couple of years, it just kind of felt like I was putting stuff out into the void and no one would listen.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
But what about in terms of production? Was there like certain elements of production that was like, oh, like, some people it's like, oh, my mix downs always sucked,
Yeah.
or
Probably mix downs.
right.
I feel like it really took me a while to feel
Mm,
confident in my mixing.
yeah. And so after that point as well, like obviously you got more conviction and confidence and like your production started to improve. What was kind of the big break at that moment? Was there like a
Um,
certain artist that started playing out your music and that was like the first artist support or
yeah. So in about 2019, I started working with a manager. So that kind of reinforced that what I was doing was, people were taking notice. And then people were starting to download my music. So I would like send it to DJs and they would actually start downloading it.
yeah.
I got my first like Lost Lens playouts that year. And then by the end of 2019, I had signed a EP with Disciple Roundtable.
Mm.
So it just like felt like things were starting to pick up momentum.
Yeah, because I noticed you had like it was a pretty fast trajectory from that point. Like the moment you started having those disciple releases, from my perspective, it seemed like your career just went exponentially bigger, like in all areas, not just in production, but like you started getting like bulk shows, you started like
Yeah.
blowing up virally on like, Twitter and TikTok and stuff like that. All those things are starting to happen really like fast around about the same time. Was that the same for
Yeah.
you in your perception?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I mean, there was like, some smaller moments prior to 2019,
Yeah.
but I think maybe around that point, things started to like click and now I was starting to get music signed and
Yeah.
artists wanted my music. So
So what do you reckon was like the kind of key to that? Because it seemed, from my perspective, it seemed like you were well prepared for all those opportunities.
Yeah.
Would
I
you
think
say it
maybe
was,
just getting,
sorry, would
I'm
you
sorry,
say it was because like you had like a high volume amount of tracks, like always ready to go?
yeah, I mean, I certainly was always working on music.
Yeah,
But I think maybe around that time I got a little more clear on exactly what my project should be.
right.
And because like prior to that, I was kind of dabbling between doing melodic stuff and doing heavy stuff.
Oh, true.
And yeah, and then I think around that time I decided I'm just going to go for heavier. And um, I think once I got clear on that, I was able to just double down on making heavy music and getting better at it.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying this week's podcast episode, then be sure to check the link below in our description. That's going to take you to a page where you can download some cool resources that's going to help you improve your productivity, your production, your workflow, your marketing, your branding, your social media, and you'll also be able to join our weekly free advisory group calls in the Industry Set group. So if you want to take advantage of those things, then click below and I'll see you soon. Of course, yeah. Because from to me, it seemed like you're somebody that has like a really strong workflow of just being able to, like, obviously I've seen in like, videos of you making tracks from start to finish, but like it seems like you have a really good system in place of like starting a track and then, having your exact process all completely fleshed out to finish tracks faster. Would you say that was
Yeah,
like pretty key in terms of finishing tracks faster? Like just having a good like workflow
yeah,
system?
definitely. Yes. Yeah.
So what is like that system, would you say, like that you kind of live by for like starting and
Um,
finishing tracks?
yeah. So for me, I would say I usually start with the drop, and then from there, kind of just have a song structure in mind. Um, and if that involves, taking a song you really like, pulling it into your DAW and just copying that song structure or using that as a
Totally.
jump
Yeah,
off
I
point.
love doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's something
absolutely.
I've always lived by. Even now, like I just suck at coming up with ideas, so I'll just completely rip structure. I mean, structure is
Yeah,
universal, so
yeah,
you're not really copying anything, but it's especially
right.
useful when you're doing a genre that you're not super accustomed to, because there's
Yeah,
like certain drum structure and whatnot that you're not really used to. But yeah, it's good to hear.
right. And then I'd say like inserting limitations. So that's a good example of inserting a limitation where like you're saying that I'm gonna just go by this for my song structure, or something else could be like working with a timer to make sure that you're, staying on task. You're not getting too hung up on sound design or this, that, and the other thing.
Do you time like each specific area of your production?
Not all the time, but I feel like if I'm trying to, really wrap up some music, I'll
Yeah.
definitely work with a timer. And then, I can go back and edit later on. But
Mm,
I think for that initial like writing stage, if you really want to like get a track down that where you can go back and edit later on, working with a timer for that first pass is really
yeah.
key.
But to kind of like get to that stage where you've like built this solid system of like, I know I need to do XYZ to, get a fully fleshed out track faster.
Yeah.
How did you kind of come up with the systems? Was it kind of just like as you're producing and getting better, you started like saving certain racks, or was it like you just like got your template like just exactly how it needed to be, or
Yeah. Yeah, my template stayed pretty much the same for the past couple of years.
hmm,
But I think just doing the reps has
getting
helped.
those reps in? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, no, solid. Yeah, I think like one practice like I think is really important is just like optimizing samples, or like optimizing your racks, and like you're saying as well, like the
Right.
template. Like I think getting those bare bone things out of the way is like just the thing that somebody should always strive for doing before they try to do anything else that's more advanced.
Right.
Yeah. So if you could kind of start over the entire like production journey as well, what would you kind of do differently? Because obviously you had to go through all of that nitty gritty to get to where you are now.
Right. I think I would say double down on just trying to get better at writing music and getting music up to the like a point where it's like at a professional level, or
Hmm.
on point with the people you like. Um, because I feel like I spent a lot of time trying different things. Like I did YouTube for a long time, like making YouTube tutorials and things like that. I was jumping around between different genres, and I think if I were to just get clear on what it is I wanted to make and just really grind at that, I think that would have saved me a lot of time.
But would you also say by doing all that experimenting kind of gave you more clarity on like what what your strengths are.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
so. And also what I like doing. So I was
Yeah.
able to try a lot of things and then figure out that I really like, heavy music.
Yeah. Would you say you also like really like, I mean, the content that you're putting out on TikTok and Reels and stuff like that, some of them you're getting like millions of players. And to me, it seems like you're just being your genuine self. Would you say like through all
Right.
that experimenting, that's where you got kind of found that, I can just like be myself on camera and it works.
Yeah, I definitely like making stupid videos. So
Yeah. Yeah. But like a lot of people that I talk to, and this is not just other people on podcasts, but also people that I've like students and stuff over the years. A lot of them really get worried about projecting themselves on like content mediums like that and being themselves. Do you have any advice for people like wanting to kind of pursue like that kind of content?
yeah.
I know, not an
I,
easy
I
question.
definitely think it. I'm sorry, what was that?
No, it was not an easy question.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess don't be afraid to be yourself. That's kind of what is going to make a connection between you and your fans is
Yeah,
they want to see a
totally.
genuine person. I think like these days there's so many people putting on a front or trying to look cool that we've almost come back around to people just want normal, regular
Yeah,
people.
totally. Well, my
Yeah.
perspective is that because everyone now, I mean, the industry is so oversaturated. Everyone's getting really good. Everyone's a producer, but it's also the content strategy everyone has is post artwork, upcoming IDs, upcoming
Right.
shows. XYZ is playing my music out, which is great and all. It's great content, but it's like if everybody's posting the exact same thing,
Yeah.
then from an outside perspective, that's boring as shit. So it's like I think having like personal content on the side, like obviously not a focus, but I think like you're saying before like allows people to actually connect with you and be like, oh, he's actually a human being. So like whenever I'm referring to things like personal content or like TikToks, I always refer people to your TikTok. I'm like, look what he's doing. Like, he's just like doing him and he's like posting music stuff as well. So like I think having that combination is like perfect.
Yeah. I think there's a bit of trying to figure out what works and what works for you too. Like,
Mm,
some people aren't, they don't like making jokes. Some people don't like, sitting in front of the camera and like talking about production. So I think
mm,
finding something that like resonates with you, but also resonates with your audience is kind of just trial and error. But I think once you hit it, it's
100%.
it's definitely worth it.
And so with your content strategy, would you say that you film like everything all in one day for like let's say the week, or would you say it's like every day you film a little bit?
I'd film every day, I think.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the like we started growing the industry set TikTok and my business partner like kind of taught me this approach of doing all my filming on the same day because oftentimes more than very often what happens is I jump on a camera and the first hour I just suck because I have that like
Yeah.
weirdness of being on a camera. I'm like, and I start to stutter or mess
Yeah.
up. And then after that hiccup, I can just like speed through everything and just do like 30 TikToks in like 1 hour. Just because it's more so because the TikToks that we're recording is very much the same thing. It's just me in front of a camera, like
Right.
giving advice here and there. So there's not much that differentiation. I can just like hit record, then hit record again to end it, and then I've got a bunch of TikToks. So I was curious on
Right.
your process because like you put out a ton of content, a lot of short form content, for YouTube, shorts, reels, TikTok. So
Right. Yeah. I definitely think I've had a similar kind of experience where like the first couple of videos you make or whatever, like in a day, like
mm,
you're not happy with them, but then once you
yeah,
get in the flow, you just bang them out.
they just speedball out
So
of that. Yeah, totally.
yeah, and I think there's definitely merit in doing the everyday thing because the discipline of doing that, like I don't know, you build up momentum that way versus like
Definitely.
if you do a bunch in one day, it might
Mm,
be hard to pick up the momentum. If you did like 2 weeks worth of content, 2 weeks from now you have to go do that again, and
right.
are you
That's
going to be
also a
motivated
good,
on that one
yeah,
day?
that's a good perspective as well because you're kind of compounding that over a long period of time. So, because I mean, you must have like a pretty strict schedule if you're able to, film content like that and then produce very regularly and then dedicate time to social media as well. So, what's kind of like your structure to a day kind of look like?
Um, so like right now I've been making like these short like clips in front of my mixer, like behind me,
Yeah,
just like playing like IDs or something. So I'll try to do that before I go to work. Um, and I can bring that out pretty quick. I try to set up the content that I can make it. I just like plug my phone into my mixer, and I can record it and I'll have the video done pretty quickly.
Oh, true.
Whereas I try not to like have it so I have to like go over to the computer and then edit it. I want it to just be very quick and
Yeah. So you
yeah, I can
usually
just
do all
get it
your
out.
editing on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sick, sick.
Um, and then usually at some point when I'm at work, I'll like, find myself bored or something. I'll try to get some tweets up or something like that.
So a lot of it, like a lot of that interaction on social media or just like creating content, it's just like whenever you get spare time, basically, you just fit it in.
Yeah, the reels thing I try to do consistently in the morning, but I'd say the rest of it is like on Twitter definitely is just when I have the time.
Right. And then you would say like when you come home from work is when you just bust out production.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that like an everyday thing or is it just like specific days that you're producing?
I try to get some DAW time in every day. Some days I don't get to, some days are busy with other things. So it's not
Mm.
consistently every day, but I try to get at least a little bit in.
But like based off of that, is it kind of like do you produce specifically trying to make a song every day, or is like because I mean some people they can't like commit to being creative every day. Like do you have certain batching sessions where you'll just like only do sound design or
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's just kind of based on how I'm feeling or what I feel like
yeah,
I need to do. Some days I feel like I don't have any sounds, so I'll like go on a sound design session. Other days I've just like really want to get some ideas down. So those just become, crank out ideas.
yeah, awesome. And so like another thing as well on that topic of production, do you have like any what are like the top five plugins you're kind of sitting on at the moment?
Yeah. I really like Pro Q3, Soothe. I use kilohertz distortion all the time. I think it's just a really clean clipping and distortion plugin. RC20 for saturation is really good.
Yeah.
The saturator in there is really nice. And this year I've been using Vital a lot. Vital's really cool. It's got a lot of like good warp modes and spectral effects that I really like.
That is the one synth that I'm just too scared to even touch because it's just like a whole nother can of worms with me trying to understand what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So like I had another person ask a question, what would be the best way to making something minimal sound clean, but still full in the context of a whole track?
Um,
Don't really know how
I,
to rephrase that.
yeah.
It's
I
a very
guess I would say
convoluted
just
question.
getting the most out of all of your elements. So if you've got, just a few elements in a, like minimal kind of track, then um obviously each one's going to have to take up a specific space. And like if you've just got like a kick and a snare and like a,
Mm.
sub, I guess the sub, you're going to probably want like a very big broadband sub to take up a lot of frequency space or it's
Yeah.
like stereo space.
And
Um,
do you have any like production like main go-to tips when you're like writing a session? Like what are your like I guess focal points when you're like doing a sound design session? Are you um trying to like recreate something that you've already heard, or you just like going into sound design and just making something from like just messing with knobs until you get something new?
it's probably the second one, just messing around with knobs until I get something that I really like.
Yeah,
Um, and that's sometimes that takes 5 minutes, sometimes that takes 3 hours. It's
of course, yeah.
yeah.
And is that kind of like in the same session you'd be also experimenting with like resampling, or is it just like I'm just gonna like just try and make new patches and stuff?
um it's
Or is
kind of
it
just wherever
also
it takes me.
wherever it takes, just random? Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes I'm like more deliberate that I want to make presets and things. Like I really want to sit down with a synth and write that day. And then other times I really like just messing with audio and just resampling until you get like weirder and weirder sounds.
Yeah. It's interesting because like in a lot of other, I mean, I guess non-creative industries, people have such structured things. And then I try to apply that to like day to day with creative work, but it's so hard to have like a very specific structure with creativity because you only feel like wanting to do a certain thing in a certain like mood that you're in. So like just like you were saying
Right.
before, it's like, well, I don't really feel like writing full track. So like I want to like optimize my samples or something like that, or like do the more technical stuff another time.
Right. I feel like that's my biggest hang up right now is like trying to find a way to be like more grindy with production. Like
Mm.
it would be nice if you could just like be like super consistent with your writing days and like always get a song done. But some days you're not creative or things aren't
Yeah, yeah.
clicking. So
And so what was originally going to be the trajectory for you, like as a career? Like, was it always been music or?
So I guess I didn't quite know what I wanted to do from high school to college. I went to college for music production, but I didn't know exactly what that would look like. Um, and I think throughout college, I kind of realized that I wanted to do electronic production and become like an artist and stuff. Um, so I guess I was just kind of like in a gray area for a little while through college.
But if you were doing like the, I guess like the technical side of production, would the career kind of led to more so just like an engineer kind of background?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah,
But I think that's what I like doing the most is, or from a engineering perspective, I would probably want to end up being in like a studio or working with bands and recording and stuff like
just like
that.
mixing, mastering, and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. Like my trajectory has been always down this line, like without me even realizing it, because my parents forced me to hang around some certain people because they thought by me hanging around them, I would become incredibly smart. And so I copied off my friends like year seven, like it was like a music test at the first time they introduced it to that school. Not me realizing by me cheating off them, I'd get 100% on that test, and then that would lead me to picking up the trumpet. And then from there, my parents were like, "Oh, he's a genius. Let's keep giving him instruments." And then I had to do the
Yeah.
keyboard and then do drums, and I wasn't interested in any of that stuff. But it's funny, like looking back, I still went down that trajectory regardless, because like in year 11 there was this guy my year at the end of every IT class who would bring out virtual DJ, like that software, and people would just be like, "Oh my god, he's mixing music at the same time. It's insane." And I'm just like, he's just mixing David Guetta into like another David Guetta song. Like this is not difficult, like moving the crossfader across. And so
Yeah.
I got virtual DJ in spite of him, just to be like, I can do this as well. And the rest is history from there. But it's just funny, like my trajectory has always been the same. Like I've always been going towards music.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyways, man, this has been like a really good podcast. I think we covered like a lot of ground in terms of like the production hacks and productivity, and also just like hearing your origin story and everything has been really cool. So thanks so much for coming on to this. I've been looking forward to this one for ages.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.